Okay, so this clip is from a scene from the TV series Spartacus, and it's when he discovers that his wife is dead. And the video is mostly concentrating on the music aspect, with some little elements of Foley in there and a little bit of dialogue. There's one line of dialogue recorded that I got a voice actor in to do, and the rest is sound effects of breathing and a bit of crying sounds and some wind ambience, and that's about it. For the rest is music, so I'll play some of the video and I'll explain what I've done. So this first part of the track consists of only four instruments, and what I've used here is Spitfire bass, long flautando articulation. So it's just a very soft kind of or flautando stroke to the bow. It's very hard to hear the bass on its own. It's just kind of underlaying everything. Same with the cello. All these strings are from Spitfire. These two are flautando articulations, just so it's very soft. Also, flautando viola. So, also here in this layer, I have a choir. So it's just playing the same melody as all the strings, and I've just put this in one all together rather than separating them. The patch I'm using for this is it's called Freya, and it's from Strezov sampling. I used a mixture of two mics, the Deca Tree mic for the overall ambient sound, and the close mics. The articulation is a slow legato. So as we come in here to this part, I've added a vocal on top. Now this voice is from the library called Laurie by 8Dio, and it's not a phrase or anything. I've played this in with the legato, and you play it without any gaps in the MIDI hit like I've done here. You can see it's quite messy and long, but they all need to overlap to get that legato sound, and it sounds quite good when it's done. Done some EQ, as I'll do on any other dialogue. Some dynamic EQ here, just so it just accentuates this frequency when the notes actually hit instead of through the whole audio file or MIDI file. So here we've got the second violins coming in, because they've got a bit of different sound from the first chair violin and Spitfire. Well, the flute coming in here is a sample from Spitfire, another library called Andy Finden's Kit Bag from the producer portfolio line. It's called a Kenner flute, which is a Peruvian flute. It's actually used in quite a lot of movies, including Braveheart, and that's where they got the inspiration for it from. It's It's quite nice sounding with a kind of human feel to it. There's some modulation and expression to give it more of a... And you can hear the breathing underneath of the character Sura. So the reverb I put on that is Courtyard again. It's a very similar background to the Gladiator clip that I did. Now again, so here I just added some violin 1 and 2 on top of the existing ones, just to accentuate that emotion in this part of the clip. Now this sample instrument is the same as the other one, but it's actually different articulation set. This is also legato, but it's not the same as the other one. So when to get this kind of hard sound that's coming through, I'll show you. So here, it's all the way you play, the velocity curves with the notes basically, so you can the modulation and expression, nothing to it, just raise the thing here until it gets to the next part. So here we have another violin coming in. And it's more of like a ending of the clip. Ends with sort of a dark tone, as in. So I did record a bit of ADR here. I'll play it from here.
My word is kept. They're united.
So what we find out in this part of the scene is that follow the context of the scene, as you haven't seen the whole episode, but he's letting his wife know, this character here, that he has done this. He's killed Spartacus's wife without him knowing.
My word is kept.
So
They're united.
with this part of the violins here, I wanted it to end on a more devious kind of tone. Which I think works very well. It kind of closes the clip. The ADR for this I had a bit of trouble with. It didn't sound very nice, but I couldn't really...
My word is kept.
I think it's the dynamics of the music and...
My word is kept. They're united.
Some recording problems. The
My
guy
word is kept.
had a bit of
They're
trouble
united.
doing these lines, even though it's very short. But again, some EQ, taking out the high and low frequencies, taking out a lot of the bass because it was very bassy. I think it was the room we recorded in, and accentuate some of the high frequencies, compression on it, and some expansion here, just on certain frequencies. This is a multi-band compressor, but you can set it to expand instead of compress, which I've done, and you can kind of just remove little, like,
My word is kept. They're united.
just compress certain
My word is
frequencies
kept.
inside
They're united.
the
My word is kept.
audio. Some bit of ambience here as well, just for this scene to transition in for when he speaks.
My word is kept. They're united.
So anyway, when this clip ended, I got a bit carried away because I had more music to write. I wish the clip was longer, but it wasn't, so I've just carried on the music and I'll explain some of it to you. So there's some orchestral rolls here. Just for a climax, new instruments enter in, it gets louder and higher strings come in and gets more explosive, just to accentuate that. So now the violins, and I'll say playing the same melody as the vocal. But I'll go through my layers of the violins, of the instruments here, the strings, just to show you what I've done. Okay, so I've also done some tempo and automation here, and that really does help with realism of when you're working with MIDI, because obviously you never want to just quantize everything, which I'd never do anyway. But if you are playing to a tempo, it can sound a bit robotic sometimes. So dip in the tempo, which I have done quite a lot here, but you have to be very careful with it because it does also slow down the clip. So if you're going to do this, you should do it. Luckily for me, the clip's ended here, and I haven't done any on this part. But if you're going to do tempo automation with music, make sure that you do the music on a separate project to the rest of the sound. Otherwise, the tempo is going to slow down along with your music, and everything will go out of sync, and the video will look horrible. So I'll show you the strings here. I've got quite a few articulations here. So I color code all my strings, so when I look at it like this, I know which is which. So okay, so my first violins, the melody is the same as the vocal. And then also got some second violins under supporting that melody. Oh, sorry, no, that's just to this actually is a solo violin, just to add an extra layer onto that main melody to give it some more definition. And it's also a Spitfire library, Saucony strings it's called. So the second violins are here. Viola. Also got two violas here, so I've got a Divisi patch, and it sounds like this. So something I forgot to mention earlier, which applies to this part of the clip, but also starts from around here, is I used all flautando patches for the bass, cello, and viola here. But when this part comes in, the strings get louder and stronger. So I've added different articulations for the cello, for the bass, and yeah, just for the cello and bass actually. So I've got performance legato here. So the sound is a lot stronger compared to Sorry. There we go. Instead of just having this cello and its divisi, if I add this layer onto it, it's a lot more defined and loud.
They're united.
So if you mute these,
My word is kept. They're united.
but then you add these on,
My word is kept. They're united.
the low end has got a bigger feel to it, and the emotions kind of accentuated because the cello and the bass are more up front. They're not so soft, so it's the emotion rises with the instruments. After this part, as I said, I got carried away, so through this part of the clip here, it's a black screen, but I wanted to finish my music. Now the strings stay, so that the rolls crashes, but I've actually made a choir come up front, and the focus here is the choir. So we've got the tenors, which I showed you early on in the clip. So that's one layer. We also got this, them all separated here, so I've just got the sopranos. I've got second sopranos here too. So basically I've just taken the layers from the string section and placed them into the choir and edit them appropriately to get a good sound. You can hear the bass choir on their own here. Same melody as the bass for the strings. And at the end I've added just a little bit more. Very low vocals, so you can hardly hear it, but it's there. I'll show you on its own. Just to finish it off. So the end sounds like this with some strings and a choir. Okay, so that's that video. Thank you for listening.